And welcome to episode 14 of the Screenblend podcast. On today's episode, we're joined by Emilio Petito to have a look. Is E3 still relevant? And conventions as a whole, are they still needed in today's society? Also, there's some Marvel news, a bit of DC news, and is Tenet still going to get that release? I bloody hope it does and it's not pushed back because we need some movies right now with everything going on. So I hope you're all well and enjoy this episode of the Screenblend podcast.
All right, everyone, welcome to Screenblend episode 14. And as usual, I'm joined by my co-host, Will Cutt, and special guest, Emilio. How are you guys?
Yeah, very good, mate. It's another good little Saturday morning. Ready to chat some shit. What's going on with you, Mills?
Not much. Another cold one here, but yeah, keen for the app.
Yeah, most definitely. So just going into it, you can contact us at screenblend.net and jackmason_22. And Will, do you want to quickly give out your handles and maybe you, Emilio, if you want to?
Again, mine's always will be Cutts on all the social medias, and then you can get us screen_blend. Again, make sure you listen to last episode. What did we talk about last episode, Jack?
That is a good question. We talked about Space Force.
Your favourite show.
TV show, yeah.
Mills, have you watched that yet? Quickly or not?
I've seen the trailers. It looked decent, but I'm not sure. What did you end up thinking, Jack?
Listen to episode 13 for all that news. No, I didn't love it. It wasn't my favorite. I wouldn't recommend it.
I didn't mind it, but I'd give it to yourself to watch, Mills, because it's not bad, but it's not great. So I think you'll either love it or you'll either hate it. It's one side of the spectrum. But if you want our massive legion of followers to get in contact with you, Emilio, where can they do that?
Probably the only one I use is the Twitter. That's at ePetito. That's about it.
Okay, you'll be getting a lot of people just messaging you now. Jack, you're
a celeb now.
Jack, what's the topic for today? What are we going into the main topic? What are we talking about?
So as many of you know, E3 was coming up this week. If it weren't for the coronavirus, and leading up to E3 2020, a lot of publishers were slowly pulling out. As you know, Nintendo has its own online platform now, which announces games. Sony pulled out, along with many other smaller companies as well. So E3 wasn't really in for a promising 2020 start this year, even if before it got cancelled. So the big question today that we'll be discussing is E3 still relevant? And I know some gaming conventions, are still quite big, but E3 more so is slowly dwindling in numbers each year. And a lot of people think it might not even make a 2021 outing come June next year. So the big question is, how can it change, and kind of what's at its core that's making it not so successful over these last few years?
Well, that's we're leaving that as a bit of a teaser then, Mace, because we'll go into the news quickly before we get into today's main topic also. So a bit of a teaser, so stick around for that, everybody. First bit, we'll just bounce off news between us, guys, and have a little bit of discussion. The first point I've got here is we were sort of all hoping this movie would come out in July. We were hoping. But it's now looking like Warner Brothers looking to move Tenet, Christopher Nolan's new movie, back again. Their biggest problem is they're struggling to find a decent release window to put this in, with the calendar already jam-packed for later 2020. This is probably one of the tentpole movies of 2020 anyway, and looking to be the first movie to probably get everyone back into cinema. But at the moment, like I said, they're struggling to find a date. There's a couple of dates open in December, but that's around Tom Cruise's possible Top Gun sequel. There's obviously June. Is that how you say it? June or Dune? What is the correct
June,
yeah,
I think.
June. Yeah, I think it's June. Like the desert June. Yeah.
They're also talking it could swap places with Wonder Woman and move that back a little bit also. But is this a bit disappointing for you guys? Because I'm sure both of you are really excited for this. We were hoping it was going to come out next month, but a bit disappointing if they have to move it back.
Yeah, I was very excited. How about you, Mills? I think this was definitely top of my list for movies this year.
Yeah, 100% agree, Jack. The trailers have been crazy in that it seems really interesting, but they haven't revealed too much. So I was keen for it for certain.
Did you see, guys, that they actually, that plane sequence in the last trailer is real? Like, that happened. It's not CGI, apparently.
That doesn't surprise me.
They used an actual plane. They're like, no, we're gonna drive an actual plane into it because it's apparently cheaper. I was like,
People
how
will
does that
give
even
Nolan
work?
the budget.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm like, how is that cheaper? But apparently they did it. So yeah, no, I'm kind of disappointed in this if it happens. Obviously, you can see why. And Jack and I, we had a bit of a conversation on this on the last pod regarding cinemas and how many people they can get in to a cinema to see if they can make their money back. But yeah, it's looking more and more likely that it's going to get pushed back. So Jack, what's the next bit of news from you?
Yeah, so as we talked about last week, we had a big chat about Ruby Rose and Batwoman. So some big news coming out of that. So as we know, she won't be coming back for season 2, but rather than recasting the role, they'll be introducing a completely new character to take her place. And Reddit kind of had a bit of a leak and said that new character is going to be called Ryan Wilder. And they're encouraging people from the LGBTQ community to audition. And a leaked description reads that the character may be a likable, messy, and little goofy mess and untamed. And it said, with no one in her life to keep her on track, Ryan spent years as a drug runner, dodging the GCPD and masking her pain with bad habits.
Oh.
So sounds very similar to your life, Will. But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But that's the description for the new character. So it'll be interesting to see how they fit her into season 2 while, audiences get over Ruby Rose's absence.
Do you watch any of these shows, Mills?
No, this is the first I've heard of.
No, I think in the end, I feel like it's one of those classic ones where you could just recast in the first episode. People are going to be a bit like, oh, okay, and then they're just going to go, who gives a F? Like, we'll just keep going with a new character and we'll push it on there. Because I think if you get to season like 3 or 4 of something like that, again, these what's the CW sort of shows like that, they're just meshed into one for me now. You could miss like a whole season and I feel like you don't miss anything of the characters. So they could easily just change the lead and no one would really know or bat an eyelid after a couple of weeks. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
I feel like every time someone replaces a main character from the show, they don't last many more seasons after that. Lethal Weapon, just anything, it just doesn't last. It
just shows again that the show's not doing as well, I'd have to presume. Next bit of news I've got here. Mills, you're a bit of a Marvel fan, I'm pretty sure, correct?
Yes, yeah.
So it's looking like I've got a report here that if Falcon and the Winter Soldier move on and get a second season, stated here on the latest edition of Murphy's Law, that coming out of season 1, Bucky Barnes and Sam Wilson are going to have gone through some traumatic shit and are going to be completely different characters by the end of it. Likely season 2 will be called something different. What does that mean for you guys moving forward if this one gets a second season? So they're not even saying it's guaranteed. What makes me a little bit skeptical. And 2, it's going to be called something completely different. So do you feel like characters may come in and out, or we obviously don't have a bit of a clue yet since we haven't seen literally anything for this show? Mills?
Mills, do you want to take this one?
I mean, the whole idea that they haven't really confirmed a second season is definitely raising questions. I mean, how many times will we all watch a show on Netflix with the promise of a second season only to find that it doesn't end up arriving? So that's definitely raising some flags for me. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, well, so much stuff on Netflix is always cancelled. Like you said, very much, not many stuff make it to a second season. So, and without seeing any footage and stuff, I don't know, too much about it as of yet. So, I think we'll just have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, I'm guessing again, it's going to be something likely regarding Captain America and the mantle of something like that on Disney Plus when this comes through, and where they go in that direction. Maybe they split off, or maybe someone. I would think either of those characters is probably not going to die in a TV show. They'd leave that to a movie, I would have thought anyway. So maybe timeline-wise, I think it will be a little bit indifferent. Next bit of news, Mace, quickly.
Yeah, so it's more so just some good news. So The Witcher Season 2 is getting back on track with its filming, and that's filming in the UK. And that's among several other UK films that are also starting production now again. So that includes The Batman, Peaky Blinders, which usually films down in Liverpool, Disney's live action The Little Mermaid, and the next Fantastic Beasts, which I'm sure we're all really not looking forward to. And that's just due to strict guidelines still drawn up by the British Film Commission and British Film Institute. So they still, have to stick to safety standards and whatnot. But the fact that they can go ahead and start filming and get along with these shows for next year is a really good start, and hopefully other countries start, following this trend.
I think
So exciting.
What's the biggest one you're looking forward to there? Probably then Mills, if you can remember the movies that Jack just spit it off real quickly. Then, besides Fantastic Beasts, which one are you looking most forward to?
I'm probably more interested in Peaky Blinders, actually. Yeah. It's I've watched a fair bit of that, but I think it's good that it's getting another season for certain.
Yeah, Peaky Blinders was an interesting one for me. I watched the first season and I struggled to get on board. I know it's like one of the highest rated television shows of all time. I struggled. I don't know. I might watch a season 2, come the end of the series maybe. But for now, I think season 1 was enough. But I'm looking forward to Witcher season 2. I'm not sure about you, Mills, but I was pleasantly surprised by The Witcher.
I tried to get through it. I think I got through 3 or 4 episodes, and then I don't know. It seemed a bit forced to me, but I haven't played the game.
Peaky Blinders and The Witcher. So okay, we'll switch them around. All right, yeah, no, I agree. If you have played the games, it kind of resonates with you a little more. But even then, I think it's still a good quality show with a good budget that Netflix has given, and Henry Cavill plays Geralt really well. But so good news all around, Cut. So do you guys have anything else to say before we finish up?
The only one I've got quickly to finish off, it's more of like a timeline thing. At the moment, it's 6 months to the day, give or take 1 or 2, that Marvel will get Daredevil back, and those characters from that sort of street level universe that was on Netflix. So interesting again, with a lot of films getting pushed back. Can they drop these characters maybe in to say new Spider-Man's movies, a couple other TV shows maybe? Is that something? Or are they going to have to downgrade the characters too? Because I presume both of you guys watched all of the Daredevil seasons, and it's probably not exactly what Disney Plus would want to produce for its, in air quotes, family-friendly content. So do you think they're going to push Daredevil in? Charlie Cox, would he come back? Do you think they want that? Or I'll give this one to you, Mills. Where do you sort of see Daredevil and these sort of street level heroes sort of going to the Disney Plus movies, etc.?
Probably best to pass it to Jack. I haven't actually watched any of Daredevil. The only one I saw was that movie that came out. How long ago was that?
Oh, with Ben Affleck?
Yeah.
2003 or something, yeah.
Which was good, I think, but I haven't seen the TV show. What do you think, Jack?
Well, I loved it. Actually, Dad's watching The Punisher currently.
Oh, yeah.
He stayed up at 12:30 last night watching it.
Can you just get Reggie on the show then, and you go out? I'll just get Reggie.
Yeah, I reckon he'd be a better recommendation on this. Well, to be honest, I think Disney will start fresh with all the characters. Yeah. I think it would be a fan's dream for, them, all the characters from all the Netflix shows to come back into, what is the Disney universe now. But I think at the end of the day, that's just kind of a pipe dream. I think Disney would like to start fresh with all their IPs and all their current characters. I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately.
No, I still think those shows are unreal though, and still have
they're still fantastic.
Still have an element that you go back and watch, even if we don't have, even if they're not connected more largely in the universe. But moving on to main topic today, Jack, regarding E3, I'll let you take it away because this is your domain here, and the reason why we've got Mills in for today's episode. So, yeah, go off and talk to us, give us a bit more background. You said it at the top of the show regarding E3. Yeah. It's still relevant, and then we'll get today's discussion up and running.
Yeah, so E3. So as I said before, it's no longer happening this year. And even before the coronavirus, numbers were declining quite rapidly and publishers were pulling out due to doing online announcements now. So E3 did originally start in 1995 as the video game industry and professionals saw a need for video game specific trade shows. And this one was, the first game breaking, all the news in the one place. And at the first one in 1995, you had the PS1 price announced, the Sega Saturn and Nintendo's Virtual Boy announced. And there was about 40,000 in attendance that year. So it was a really good start for the convention. And every year it's held at the Los Angeles Convention Center, which is pretty big. So they can fit a lot of these studios and publishers and large crowds in it. So over the years, it's gone between just a journalist event for them to, give out to the audiences. And then other years, it's been also crowd-based as well. So the public can also get a ticket after great difficulty and go in. So the big question is now, why is it declining and what can it do to improve? Because 2021 is looking bleak for the trade show. So like I said to you as well, Microsoft is the only big contender this year, but without Nintendo and Sony. And Rockstar and Blizzard don't even attend anymore this conference anyway, and they're two of the biggest contenders and studios in the world today. And the last few years have also had some disappointing announcements, and the expectations are almost so high for publishers that they would much rather do it in their own time. But what do you guys think about the trade show in general and going into it and your experiences, if you've ever been to a trade show before, not necessarily E3, but something else?
Can I just flick you a quick question, Mills, for our fans? What's your background in gaming? What games do you like to play, and what consoles, etc.? Just so we get a bit of background there.
Oh yeah, easy. Well, I think I grew up on the PlayStation 2 mainly.
Yeah.
Dad decided to get that for us instead of going to the Adelaide show one year, which was a big deal.
Good trade-off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were happy with that. But then since I think 2010, got into the computer side of things, built my own with my older brother, and have never really looked back to the console space, except for having an appreciation for, people that don't want to build their own computer or can't be bothered upgrading over time, that consoles are obviously a really good option for them. But yeah, I mean, recently, the last, 10 years, I think it's mainly been League of Legends, just playing with friends from school, uni, and so on, with a bit of Counter-Strike on the side or Battlefield or something. So that's basically where I'm at the moment.
Perfect. Just thought I'd get a bit more of a background on there, what you enjoy playing. The first thing I was just going to ask too is, for you two, you're more gamers than I am, because I'm pretty white boy with my sports games that I enjoy playing, or sort of etc. But for you guys, for a convention, when you see E3s coming up each year, let's say in the last 5 to 10 years sort of thing, is this something that you guys are in the week leading up, all over Twitter, all over, like when it's getting into those days when the conventions are starting, are you staying up late for this to check the latest news, sort of pre 2 or 3 years ago when a lot of stuff would come out earlier with what the problems are? But something before that, is that something that you were really interested in? Was this like a big part of your gaming year, was waiting for E3? I'll ask that to both of you.
I wouldn't say I was all over Twitter, Instagram and everything. I was more waiting to hear what Jack thought, probably.
Yeah.
He's at the forefront of the news things usually, in this space at least.
Sure.
Yeah, no. So there's a few years where, if I think some exciting news was going to be announced, like a new console or a AAA game that I really liked, I might have stayed up, in 5:30 in the morning, got up and watched it, because they're entertainment. Like these press shows that they do at E3 and maybe some other conventions now as well, they're really entertaining. They surely have some corny dialogue. It's like watching the Academy Awards and the banter between those actors before they give out the award. It's just like that. But it's really entertaining. Last year, you had Keanu Reeves. They bring out celebs, and it's just the atmosphere that comes from the convention center, and it's really good watching it live. Now you can watch it, at home, watching all these new games, be released, and you're the first person seeing them with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So no, I think it's quite exciting. I mean, I'm not sure. I'd like to see it continue, but I can also see reasons for its long-term downfall from a publisher's point of view.
So from my thing, it's I think you sort of hit a little bit of a nail on the head there, Jack. Is it looking like the problem when this sort of started to come down in a little bit of downfall was when this started to be released to the public? So again, it's sort of similar to, and we'll talk about Comic-Con and some sort of other stuff later, but when it is completely just a trade show and it's got journalists or high-profile gamers just at this event, was that better for it, or was it better to have the fans like you guys the ability to watch it? Like, what do you think is better for these conventions? Or even you can take it 2 Mills. Is it better to find out your news then from a journalist on Twitter or something, or like a report that's released later, or would you prefer to be watching it live then?
I don't think anything will replace the in-person experience, or watching it on twitch.tv or whatever other streaming service they decide to share it on. But I mean, there's so many gaming news websites now, and a lot of them just spew out a lot of garbage, to be honest. So I'd rather hear it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the show was best. I think as much as people love to go to the show, I think a lot of the decline came from when it did open to the public in 2017. There was long queuing lines to play games, people waiting for absolutely, huge amount of hours just to play their favorite game. And even then it was a small demo. And apparently there was quite a bit of lack of security. So no metal detectors, bag checks. And then the show's organizer, Entertainment Software Association, leaked personal information of more than 2,000 journalists and influencers. So that was kind of a nail in the coffin in regard to that. So there is problems with having, more people at this show. While it is good for the numbers and the tickets and the sales and all that, having too many people as someone from the public like us, long wait lines and just having a really crowded convention center, while it is big, can be a bit of a problem. So sometimes it's best just for the journalists to report and we just hear it from external sources.
Jack, you've got here in your little show notes, very well done, by the way, that Gamescom in Germany, and one of the guys that I work with, actually, I think has been to one of the Gamescoms over there for his old job, saying that looks to be at least 5-6 times the amount of people can attend Gamescom compared to E3. So is this looking like, again, more companies and brands going out to, say, Gamescom in Germany than E3 for their announcements?
Yeah, yes, I would say like what was reading now. So the biggest Gamescom is 370,000 attendees compared to E3's 66,000 in recent years. So I would say Gamescom is probably starting to, if not the largest one, because, well, it's in Europe. A lot of people can easily come from a lot of different countries who are interested in the gaming world. And I think a lot of publishers are coming in too. It's a bit more about behind the scenes as well. It's not just about the big companies showing off their new games. It goes into a bit more about behind the scenes. So it's called Gamescom because you are communicating with the publishers and all these people who are behind the game. So it gives you a bit of a insight into the making of behind all these games as well. So no, I mean, Emilio, have you ever wanted to go to Gamescom or anything like that as well? Have you heard much about it?
No, this is the first time I've heard of it, actually, Jack.
Oh, okay. Because it is slowly, it is still the biggest thing. And I personally have wanted to go in recent years. Yeah. But there's also, as you know, there's lots of other big conventions now as well. You've got PAX, the Tokyo Game Show, you have BlizzCon, you have one, there's so many different ones now that, there's one every couple of months, really, if you know where to find them. We're never really out of, huge announcements. They keep on coming. But E3 is just kind of being stuck in the middle of it all now. And it's, because all the publishers just want to announce their own thing and having these conventions themselves.
I've seen here, Jack, and I was doing a little bit of research beforehand too. It's looking now like a lot of studios themselves are doing their own conventions or releases for games. And is that, so you've got here Nintendo, Sony, EA doing very similar things. Is that now because they can set their own timelines? I know this might be a dumb question, but they can set their own timelines then, so they're not they don't have to release in line with these other massive conventions. They can make sure they've got enough stuff to release something. And are these under a paywall, or is it just, again, on Twitch that they're just releasing, like, say, Nintendo are doing their own virtual direct announcements for their games and EA and Sony? And is that something that you're more interested in than this big whole thing? And even Mills too.
Mills, do you want to take this one?
Well, I think it's interesting that, if they're heading towards doing their own kind of shows and announcements, the confidence that these companies have in their own products, which is good, I think. If they feel like they've got enough of a fan base that they can do their own thing on their own timeline, then it really speaks to perhaps how far they've come in, the last 5-10 years.
And publishers no longer have to compete for that attention. With the other studios, for example, E3, Microsoft don't have to, have a comparison between their press conference and Sony's, for example. They can find their own unique time to announce it when everything's ready, and it's cheaper to do a digital presentation. And you have a wider reach because it is online. And, E3, it's very expensive for them to hold these press conferences. They have to rent out their, the part of the convention center. They have to get the media. So it is very money consuming compared to just doing something online. And at the end of the day, a lot of things have gone wrong live. I mean, just naturally things go wrong, and that can
just
leave
like this show, Jack.
Yeah, just leaving a everlasting, thanks, man. Leaving a bad impression. Like, you know, Uncharted. Did you see that the other year? How that froze that during that demo?
No, what happened? It just completely froze during.
Yeah, and that, I mean, it's happened lots, but I think that's more of the recent one I can think of that just crashed halfway through the demo and they had to restart it and they had a whole lot of issues. So they can avoid that by doing their own online thing.
Yeah, I think in the end, so for this year, what was expected to come out at this E3 though, Jack? And this stuff's been pushed back a little bit, but we're obviously expecting stuff for the consoles, or are we not going to get some of the console stuff this E3?
Well, this is meant to be the year of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So there would be a lot of news, gaming news, and I'm guessing probably the reveals of what both consoles, you know, look like and a bit more in depth of their specs. But what did you think, Mills? What do you think kind of going to this E3? What kind of big game announcements or console announcements do you think we're going to come out of this?
Well, what I've seen so far, that the demo that they released, I think that we would have been likely to see perhaps more of that. And like you said, you know, the details of the consoles and so on. But I think there's already been some speculation about what was really running on those demos they showed most recently. So it would have been good to get a bit more of an idea perhaps of the actual performance we can expect from these consoles. Because it seems like, you know, every generation that comes out is going to smash the PC gaming market to bits because they're just as competitive, but at a much smaller price. And what we've seen in the past, at least, is that they're not actually as good as they seem. But of course, it's still usually a big leap for the fans of consoles anyway. What did you think, Jack?
Yeah, no, I agree. I do expect that we're going to see some things like that. And also, like you said as well, that games can be very misleading at trade shows. They can run off really high-end software, and at the end of the day, the game doesn't look as good when it's released. So that's another thing I think many people find misleading about having these shows.
Well, I think quick one from me is I love a games trailer, but I feel like I hate when they just put like actual footage or not actual footage in the bottom corner of like a games trailer, and I'm like, just what the hell? Like, give me actual game. Like, I don't want some cutscene that someone else has just put together for a trailer. And I feel like whenever I watch that sort of stuff, I want to see like 100% the gameplay or even closer to release, because half the time I just don't even trust what they're putting out there is actually, like basically what you've said, is what actually is going to be what we can get our hands on physically.
It's almost become a running joke that what you get shown at these shows is going to be far from what ends up in your hands at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, very true. Yeah, no, I'm with you. So that's always a big problem too. And I think if they do have these digital online things, they don't have to worry about things crashing. They can show it when they're ready. So when it's ready, I mean by the fact that they do have the product that they're willing to release relatively soon without doing, you know, customized kind of demo with upgraded software that just won't be the real thing at the end of the day. So so that's, and then so have you guys ever had any ambition or even been to any one of these conferences or anything like that, whether it was a small trade show, E3 or a Comic-Con? Or
no, well, in the end, we've only got our ones here, obviously, that we have a couple of times, Jack, you and I have been to, the generic convention of like all of media and entertainment sort of thing. But I think it's something that has interested me a little bit in some respect, but it's obviously so hard to get to them. And I think now, like you've said, and we said at the top of the show, since you now have the ability to get pretty much all this information when you can sit at home on an equivalent of what we're doing right now, is there any real need to go out and spend thousands of dollars to line up for hours, etc.? Is that like, is there a need anymore to do that besides maybe physically playing some game that you might not actually get for another 12 months sort of thing? Like, if that makes sense. Is it worth it? I guess that's the whole point of this conversation. Like, is it worth it?
Yeah. Well, that depends there'll always be a crowd for, you know, because a lot of the games are on display and you can play them at these conventions. And I think that at its core, that's, why a lot of people do want to go, aside from the announcements. But at the same time, if you can find a good world between having these conventions where you can play games and then having online announcements for the studio's sake in their benefit, I think it could work. I mean, do you agree with that, Mills, or do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of it comes down to the whole idea of atmosphere, really. Yeah. And Cutts would definitely know about this. The same reason that watching the KO recording of your favorite team's sport is, not quite the same as actually being there on the day. Yeah. It's this question of, well, how good is being there in person, and is that even close to reproducible online?
You've nailed it. Ended the conversation. You've nailed it, Mills, I reckon. But I think that's because if you look at that from even like a Comic-Con with like Hall H sort of stuff, I think that's something I'd love to be a part of, just to feel that atmosphere of being in there when some trailer, I get 90 seconds of a movie that no one else gets for 6 months. I think and again, if you can get that moment at a games convention or something that they break the news that this is coming out, you can't really replace that or replicate it, I think, in the end, by sitting behind a screen. And as much as we love when someone says a new trailer's out and you sit there and you geek out for a bit, I don't think there's anything better than being there with thousands of people, in whatever form of entertainment you enjoy. So yeah, Mills, nailed it. Best point on this podcast, I reckon, nearly ever.
You don't have to say that, it's all right.
No, yeah. But so for Jack, what from this sort of what was going to happen this year, do you think overall, where are we going with these conventions now? And is it just 100% going to be online? Is that where we're thinking things will go? Or will it just be completely fan orientated? Again, take COVID out of it, just because we might not have fans in these sort of areas for 12 months anyway. So where do you see the future of E3s and stuff?
Well, I see publishers doing their online directs and announcing things when they're ready. And I think Microsoft's the last kind of thing in the coffin to prevent E3 and kind of holding it off. But even then, I think E3 can still work in the future. So there's a few different things they've said that, they said they'll turn it into a fan media and influencer festival with, high flow of gaming pavilions and activations, which are, having a celebrity appearance and getting photos with them to share, and gaming tournaments, which a lot of the...
What, Jack?
Tournaments. I didn't say that right, did I? Shush. But anyway, yeah, so they might go more for, just like you said as well, just for the atmosphere and more so for the public and the publishers themselves. So they go online, I think, in the future. And I think game conventions and all this kind of just go just for the gamer. And they have all these games. And like I said, they have all these appearances from celebrities and tournaments, and I think that will be enough to satisfy the audiences.
Mills,
what do you guys think, though? How could they change?
That sounds good. I think I was watching something, I'm not sure how long ago it was, or if it was a trade show or anything like that, but it was some gaming related live stream on Twitch, and you could actually get involved in a way through some plugin they had. So it felt like, you're not there, you can see the crowd, but you're contributing in some way to perhaps something that's going on, which is, perhaps it's kind of bridging that gap between, I'm at home in my pajamas and these people are there at the actual thing, but I can do something that makes me feel like I'm there in a way.
No, that's I think that's the beauty of, I know it's like a little cliche, it's the beauty of what we live in now, and we're pushing in that direction, because having that ability, like you said, Mills, to sit in your pajamas but feel like you're interacting with someone on a completely different time zone and different part of the world. I think there's opportunities to grow this if it's done correctly. I know you were talking earlier, Jack, with sort of their inability to really organize an event with security, et cetera, et cetera. Well, if they can organize an event with plugins and stuff so people can feel interactive while they are at home, and then also if some people do get to go to said event, can feel like they're contributing. I feel like it's something that could blossom and really become a staple of each year in sort of everyone's gaming calendar. But I think they have to listen to the fans, I think probably more than some businesses do, to really nail that sort of, say that, like you said, atmosphere before, but nail the nail the whole project, because there's 100%, there's an opportunity here that I think that they can do, and trying to probably look at everyone else and what they've done and make it the best possible thing that they can do. Because I feel like that's what a Comic-Con's going to start pushing into, sort of a similar thing, that it's going to be people at home and you can watch a Hall H, etc. from your bedroom. Because especially knowing now the little that I know, and I've spoken to you about it too, Jack, with the, like, we're good here in Australia, but I feel like overseas sort of stuff's going to be a while before you can have 30,000 people in the same area at an event, all touching different controllers and interacting in that way. So, yeah, that's just my little point regarding.
No, that's a good idea. Yeah, having live cameras or something for the world to watch in different holes, if it's something like that, like Comic-Con. Yeah, that's a good idea. Or you put your VR goggles on and you're part of, you buy your ticket and you put your VR goggles on and you're a certain seat in the front row. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's lots of ways.
Wouldn't that be wicked, Jack? You put your VR goggles on, just sit there.
That could happen one day. You never know.
Yeah, for any event. Yeah, not just even this. Yeah, but we'll just have to see. But hopefully it goes ahead in 2021. But you just have to go through a few changes.
So do we have any more points on this? Is this anything else regarding even conventions as a whole and how this sort of industry? But I think we've sort of nailed it. In my opinion, we've done a decent job at sort of looking at whether E3 is still relevant for you guys before we move on to the next sort of thing. Is it for you, sort of, is that question, just in short, is E3 still relevant, Emilio?
I'd say yes, but perhaps not in its current iteration. How about you, Jack?
Yeah, I agree. And like I've said a couple of times, if publishers move elsewhere, if it stays a fan event, I think it can still, get the people in and still be sustainable into the future.
Yeah, I think not bad there, not bad. We'll move, again, everyone, if your opinions, we'll have that question up and we'll put it up on the Instagram. Is E3 still relevant? So you can listen to, the podcast and get back to us and give us your comments, and we'll have a look at the next episode and so even just touch on that for a little second. But we'll move into my favorite topic of the week, show and tell. So, Mills, I'm not sure if Jack told you. I
was not privy to this.
Okay, but it is regarding, we sort of have a look and have a discussion at some of the stuff you've watched or played lately. So is there any latest TV shows you've looked at that you could recommend to the fans of the show, or something that you've enjoyed lately?
I finished off Homeland, so they had the 8th season on SBS On Demand.
Yeah.
And that's been going for ages now. I think Netflix has seasons 1 to 7 if people want to have a look at that. But it's one of those shows that it perhaps feels like it's gone on a little too long, but it's a show that once you get into it, the characters are interesting enough that you kind of want to see it through to the end, regardless of how it actually finishes. So I enjoyed watching the end of that, certainly.
I remember hearing so much about Homeland in its original couple of seasons, like this big new show. I was like, oh, I've got to get into it. But you haven't really heard much about it from season 4 onwards. I didn't even know it was still going, to be honest. Were seasons 4 to 8 as good as the first 3?
Yeah, I'd say so. They kind of shied away from that, US Marine who's been turned by Al-Qaeda storyline. But they actually did a pretty good job of continuing it through those middle seasons. There's a lot of good characters in there. Okay,
so get your recommendation, you think? Would you suggest it to other people?
I'd say definitely.
I've never seen any of it, but I feel like it's one of those ones that I just missed and I never got back into. But for me, it's probably the perfect sort of quarantine sort of show. You got 96 episodes. You can really binge. That's a couple episodes a day, and you sort of through the whole thing pretty quickly. If it's like that. Anything else you've looked at in the last bit of time, Mills? Any other games you've played?
Valorant?
Been playing Riot Games' new first-person shooter, Valorant.
Okay.
There was quite a bit of hype around that because that space, at least at a competitive level, has kind of just been dominated by, your Counter-Strikes and whatnot recently. So it was a big thing for Riot, who have made, the most successful video game of all time, arguably, in League of Legends, to actually be releasing a game in a completely different genre. That was interesting. And then I think the way they've released it is, they've got usual streamers and so on playing the beta and alpha versions. So you can you've been seeing people play it, and then to have it actually finally released was, I think, a lot of fun for people. And it came out with Oceanic servers, so it's been good to actually be able to play and not have too much lag or anything. So been enjoying that recently. I think it's different enough from Counter-Strike that it's enjoyable.
Is it?
You don't agree, Jack?
No, I think it's if Overwatch and Counter-Strike had a kid and there's no original ideas in this personally. But people who are wondering, it's a free-to-play online first-person shooter. So I think because you do have to pay for Counter-Strike and Overwatch, I think this will gain a lot of traction. And the fact, and I've, playing one game of it, the gameplay is good. You have your own set of powers. And I played, was it called? Was it Spike or something?
Spike Rush? Is that the
one?
Yeah,
Spike Rush. Yeah, which is, if not a copyrighted version of Counter-Strike's Bomb Rush. But yeah, no, it's a good quality game. I just think, if I was, doing copyright for those two other games it copies, there's a few lawsuits up my sleeve. And I do felt that, it's best of 25 rounds, so it runs a little long. I like something quick, short and succinct. Yeah. But no, it went on a bit too long for my liking. I can see the gameplay. I might come back to it. But yeah, I'll just wait till it grows a little bit and gains a bit more traction in mainstream. I might come back to it. But it does have that strategy. You got to choose the right gun and during the right round and, use your abilities at the right moment. So there is a bit more strategy than maybe some of the other games. But yeah, no, I think it's a good start for, this free-to-play online game.
Yeah, I think there's been a bit of criticism, at least on what I've seen on, Reddit, of the graphics. But I think, one of the big things that was a key to League of Legends success was that the game ran on literally anything. That 2000 era laptop you've got sitting in the garage, you could still pull it out and have a game of League on it. And I think Valorant's in a similar vein in that it will run on almost anything. And I think in terms of the visual clarity, enemies are a big bright red, and you don't have to, be looking for the counter-terrorist outfit or terrorist outfit that you do in Counter-Strike. So it's like less on the realism, but I think in terms of getting into it, it's probably a lot easier for people. So that might appeal to a younger audience, perhaps, who just want something to pick up and play and enjoy with friends without getting too serious.
Yeah, because I do find free-to-play games like Fortnite, a lot of 12-year-olds, give or take, find their way onto these free-to-play games because they don't have the money to, afford a Counter-Strike or an Overwatch, and they don't have to get their parents' permission to play an M-rated game. They can just download it. So I feel like, once again, it might be a new Fortnite for those people who don't like that, and they might get aboard this. So it might become quite big in the future. Who knows?
Jack, is there anything you've been looking at? Because I've never heard about that game, so that's
That's because it just got released. So
okay, that's why. Good. Anything besides you and me, Jack, catching up with our favorite new Anna Kendrick show, Love Life? What else have you been watching?
Yeah. Well, it's still mostly just that actually. So I watched episode 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
So it introduces a new guy called, what's his name? Magnus.
Yeah. God, I hate that guy.
Yeah. He's a sous chef, and it's about her relationship with this guy. And then episode 5 is a bit of a flashback to a high school boyfriend, and then they kind of both come into that episode 6. But no, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I'm still enjoying it, and I would still watch the last remaining 4 episodes when they're all out. What did you think of the new episodes, Cuts?
No, I've got a feeling. I was talking to Ari about this again. I'm like, I'm nearly finished episode 5. Watch
it, Mills, it's good.
Yeah, watch it, Mills. You'll bloody love it if you love a little bit of the rom-com. But it reminds me a little bit right now that they were probably looking to release this weekly, and then HBO Max is obviously. We haven't really spoken too much about HBO and sort of their streaming platform because we don't have it here in Oz, but apparently it's shit. So there's not much on it at the moment. So I've got a feeling they're releasing these in their batches because they need to get something out there. And it just, I don't mind it, but I just feel like it's not great. And now I'm looking at the titles accidentally for some of the episodes, and one of them's named a girl. So I'm guessing she's got a lesbian relationship maybe at some point.
Nothing surprises me.
Okay.
Yeah. At this point. But no, again, I don't mind it. It's a fine show. This is the thing. It's just I feel like nothing's just really getting me for it. So but that's a sort of typical sort of show like this, sort of rom-com sort of style thing. It's just all right. It's not.
No, it's not amazing, but there's nothing else like it right now, and
No,
because of that, it stands out.
there's not really that much at the moment too. I was thinking before. I'm like, I was trying to get some other stuff to watch, even just for this segment, and sort of next topics. And I was like, there's not that much else just out now, even just being released. It's sort of like a dull period. I understand why, but I'm sort of there's not that much else coming out.
Well, I watched for the first time. I don't know why it's taken me this long to watch it, but I watched Zombieland Double Tap last night. So the second Zombieland.
Yeah.
No. Well, it was too expensive in London cinemas, so I thought I'll hold off and wait till it's on digital. And it was on Amazon Prime free last night, so let's get on that. Yeah. I liked it. It was more or less the same film as the first. It didn't really change anything up, but because of that, it was good. Like, more or less, it was just a bit of fun, bit of comedy. You gotta love Woody Harrelson. All his dialogue just being stupid. It's a lot of fun, and it doesn't change up the formula. So I can't say it's amazing, but it's more the same. And because of that, I had a good 100 minutes with it. And I love all the actors: Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, and Abigail Breslin, who has grown up since the last time I saw her. Yeah. Quite a bit. But it's a hoot, and I'd recommend it to everyone who loved the first one, definitely.
You seen it, Mills?
No, and the first one came out a while ago, wasn't it? Jack, do you remember the year?
Yeah, 2009, and they actually make reference to it in the movie. There's quite a bit of self-parody in the film. Yes. He says "nut up" or "shut up" in the first one, and Luke Wilson's in it. He says, that's so 2009. So there's a few, so
a
specific.
Bit self-aware.
Yeah, very self-aware. So there's little things like that, and it's great. And there's a Zoe Deschanel or whatever her name is.
Zoe, Deutsch.
Yeah, how do you pronounce her surname?
Deschanel, isn't it?
Deschanel.
No, that's a different.
No,
that's a different.
There's two.
That's a different actor. It's
okay, there you
go. Deschanel isn't. That's the chick from that TV.
Yes Man and New Girl.
Yeah. So this is a different chick though.
Yeah, but she's great in this. She plays like a dumb blonde, and she's just very funny. She plays the part really well. Yeah. But this is the girl from Why Him, the one with Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you've seen that one. She's in that, and she's actually the daughter of Marty McFly's mum in Back to the Future. I did not know that. But there you go. So she's following on.
Good piece of trivia, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, just in case you're wondering.
That's another thing, though, that everyone literally in Hollywood is related to someone else in Hollywood. It's like, that's the only way you get in, I think, now. So, Jack, your acting career is... you need to know someone or be related to
Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before the Me Too movement. Yeah. After the Me Too movement. Yes. No, definitely. So that's really good. But that's all I've kind of been watching this week, and obviously, watch Space Force as well earlier in the week. So that's all my recommendations.
Yeah,
you guys got anything else?
I've got nothing really else at the moment. Is there anything else big coming out? I don't know if that's something we probably should have looked at prior to the episode, but is there anything else big coming out in the next week or so? Like even in Netflix releases, is there any like original content coming out soon? Like,
there's always something on Netflix. What I love about Netflix is I just, they teases it in the front banner at the top. Usually I just get an email about it come the day. So it's always a surprise. I like that.
I think I haven't watched any of this though, but 13 Reasons Why, that new season or final season of that, I don't know. Mills,
I only watched the first one.
Yeah. I think that's really dropped off anyway, but I think they were trying to say that was a big release at the moment. So, I think, that just came out, and there's not much else for a little bit now releasing here. But again, anything to finish off the show with, Mace, or I reckon we're done for our Saturday's recording.
Yeah. So, just the usual. Definitely give the Anna Kendrick show a watch.
Yeah. Play
some Valorant. Give that a bit of a shot, and watch Zombieland 2 from me. And otherwise, stay safe. How about you guys?
Mills, thanks for coming on though.
Thanks.
Good to have a chat.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Love to have you back.
How many people get to appear on their favorite podcast?
You're too kind.
I couldn't resist. Sorry, fellas.
You know what? You can come back anytime. Then again, but no, thanks for coming again, mate, and having a good discussion. And again, for everyone, just follow all the stuff that's in the links below, or again, just give us a 5-star review. It's so easy. Just go in, give us a review, tweet Mills also, and we'll go from there, guys. But thank you again, and we'll see you next week.